All right. Week 13, 2024, Thanksgiving week. Let's get into it. All right, boys, I'm doing some traveling this week, so this is my only chance to record a podcast. It is going to be completely off the dome. So I do want to at least get in one game preview, but also just a couple quick notes before I get going. Wanted to get you something before I left, though. This Saturday is our trade deadline. Viking, get your last-minute offers out, as you cannot trade players that have played in games. So after Thursday, you are going to be limited on what you can offer. So look at those teams, see if there's anybody you need to make some last-minute moves with. Looks like most people are still in it. There's only a few teams that are out of it, and even those teams are still jockeying for position, which will help you potentially next year in the draft. I do always reserve the right to change how we select our draft order, and it might be in the order which we finish this year. Or maybe not. I'm not telling. So definitely want to get some wins in. And we know our two bottom teams are trying to get in some wins. We have two teams vying for the Sacko. Only two left. Ryan is out of the race. He is 2 wins in front of both teams. So even if he loses out and they win out, Ryan has the tiebreaker in points. So Ryan is out of the race. That gives us Paul, our Fire Crotch, Simply Jamarvelous, and Sema, Big Thunder, Bounce Test. So where are they at? Paul got his win a couple weeks ago, pulled ahead by 1, but pulled a loss last week. That left the door open for Thunder, and he pulled out a win. So currently both are tied with 2 wins. They are 2-10, but Thunder has a 200-point advantage on him in the tiebreaker, the points for category. So what Paul needs is a win. He just needs 1, and he needs Thunder to lose both weeks. If Thunder wins this week, Paul will need to win both weeks. So that's where we're at. It's coming down to the wire. So let's look at who they got. Paul has, Simply Marvelous, has Tank Dogs. The AI has predicted them 134. So Chad at 134. But Simply Jamarvelous at 137. So he is ahead on the AI predictions. Why? Well, Paul is not going down without a fight. He made 2 trades this week. You can see the details of that in the league article. But he made 2 trades this week, trying to stay out of that Sacko. Meanwhile, looks like our weatherman is sitting on his laurels. He has not made any trades this week, and he goes up against me, your fearless Commish. I am favored Gattaca. I am favored 156 to Big Thunder's 152. So both games certainly worth watching this week. When you're within 5 points on the AI, it goes either way. And as we found out last week, I was 9-3 on the year. All 3 losses coming when I picked Sema to win. Damn you, Sema. But I did pull out a loss after I predicted. So I'm now 9-4. So now it's not only Sema that's my kryptonite. It is the mental erections. That's right. The mental erections played Ryan. Ryan was favored by 20 points, maybe 30. And they pulled out a win. Not only did they pull out a win, Fat Gandalf and Sexy Saruman just laid the wood. Totally, pun intended, mental erections. They scored 174 points when they were predicted to score 127. Ryan's bad luck continues as he scored 169. But hey, Ryan, at least they didn't score their average of 192 against you, so, bringing that average down. Ryan, you've just had a rough go of it. They had every single player score more than 15 points with the exception of Jalen McMillan. That includes Zach Ertz pulling in 16, TJ Hawkinson pulling in 18, Jalen Warren pulling in 15. Just everyone. And while Ryan had Tua with 4 touchdowns and Barkley with 250 yards and 40 yards receiving, total of 300 plus yards and 2 touchdowns for 46 points. Ryan still couldn't pull out a win. Justin Jefferson, 4 points. Not good. Brock Bowers, 7 points. Just, not that Ryan had a bad week. Ryan scored just fine. Again, he scored over 160. So he was actually the fourth highest scoring team on the week. So Ryan would have won playing most of the teams in the league. But once again, Ryan pulls out a heartbreaking loss. So your commish 9-4 now on the season. The Wizards got me. So they pulled out their potion as I suggested they should, and did some bribing. They got the win. But going back to the Sacko this week, we do have 2 very tight races. I wanted to preview both, but I don't want this to go too long. I'm going to try to preview both, but I am going to be a little faster than normal. And I never preview my games, so this will be a first. So just going through my team real quick. The Allen's Gatticas. We have Sam Darnold and Joe Burrow versus Thunder's Love and Justin Herbert. On Allen's side, Sam Darnold has been pretty good all season. He did have one down game of 8 points, but he gets Arizona this week. Arizona has been pretty good on the season. They're about 12th overall. Yeah, it looks like 12th overall in allowing points. But if you look at the last 6 weeks, they're killing it. They're doing really well. And coming off a good game for Darnold, Jefferson might have looked bad, but Darnold still had 330 yards, 2 touchdowns, had a bunch of deep balls. I think Arizona. I don't know. I think Darnold can get it going. Arizona, though, how do you beat them? You want to run against them. They don't have a great run defense. I could see Minnesota trying to get the run going, but with who? They just don't have a great running back. So until that changes, I think Darnold's good for his, 20, 25 points a week. Just depends on how many touchdowns he gets. So I'll put him in for 250 and 2 at least and hope for more. His other quarterback, Joe Burrow has been on fire at the draft. I regretted taking him. It was a difficult pick. I won't say I regretted taking him. I lamented taking him is probably more accurate. I was just afraid of injuries, afraid of a slow start, and he started off with 9 points, so that wasn't good. But since then, he has, I guess, recovered, I assume, of the last 3 games. He's had 38, 46, and 38 points, 5 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns. He is rolling, and he's coming out of a bye week. Unfortunately, Joe Burrow gets the league best pass defense versus quarterbacks, and so they're 32nd is what they allow in the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not sure what he's going to do against them. I'd still clock him in for his, going above 20. Just because that's what they do. I'm worried about weather, but it looks like it's going to be sunny, so it doesn't look like that's going to be an issue. So I still like my quarterbacks. Still think they're holding up my team. Switching over to Sema, he is coming on. Herbert, I would not have guessed this was going to happen, but eventually Harbaugh realized, hey, I've got a stud at quarterback. And stopped, throwing the ball. Well, let's see his early attempts in the season, 2018 and 27 attempts. That's just terrible. His last 2 games, he's had 36 attempts, and over his last 5, he's only been under 20 once and over 27 every single week. Oh, no, that's true for the last 7 games. So, he is chucking it. He really is chucking it. He has had 5 of 7 games over 32 attempts. So they're throwing the ball despite Harbaugh's, desire to run it. You got Gus Edwards back there. So I really don't care what you want to do, Harbaugh. You are not dumb. You will realize that you got a great quarterback. You get Atlanta's, kind of piss-poor pass defense. He really has been great and is really the savior here for Sema's team. I say that. Love also has been very good. He's really been up and down, though. He's got 4 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns. on his resume over the past kind of 6-8 weeks. But then he also has games with literally no touchdowns and a pick and 160 yards. He's okay. I mean, he spreads it around. He seems to find a way to win. I'm going to go ahead and call them versus Miami's defense. Well, again, I think the pass defense is not as great as the 30th, so we're one of the best in the league. I think that's just because you can run on the Dolphins, and I don't think that's any different this week. It is supposed to snow and be tough weather in Green Bay for Thanksgiving, so I don't imagine this is going to be a very high-scoring game. I think both groups have some very good quarterbacks, but I am going to give Allen the advantage here. Moving on to wide receiver. Wide receiver has just not been a good area for Allen. Allen started off the year red hot, looking great, mostly because he had CeeDee Lamb, who now has Cooper Rush. He had Olave, who, started off okay. And, Carr looked like he was coming back, but now he's out with a concussion. He's been out 2 weeks. And he had Chris Godwin, who's the number 2 receiver in the league, just absolutely dominating. And in the flex had DK Metcalf. I mean, this group was a huge plus for Allen every week with Waddle on the bench. So, yeah, great, except you fast forward to now. CeeDee Lamb's got Cooper Rush. They play the Giants. I mean, I think CeeDee Lamb still PPRs his way to 15 points. DK Metcalf is questionable. It looks like he's going to play, but he's all over the board this year. I mean, plenty of 7-point weeks, but he's got 2 20-point weeks, 3. So he's did not practice though, so I'm going to assume he plays, but he also plays the Jets. So I think kind of a 10-point week coming in is the expectation. Jalen Waddle has not had a good game all season until last week. He exploded for, I think, 170 yards, give or take. No, 140, my bad. But again, it's in Green Bay. I just don't expect much out of him. And in his fourth wide receiver spot, Rashad Bateman, he's got some options on the bench, Alec Pierce and Christian Watson, but it looks like he's going with Bateman. Now, problem here also, well, Bateman has been hot, and the Ravens are a hot offense. I say hot, he's been solid. He gets Philly. I mean, Philly, I know what their stats say. It says, what are they, the 10th fewest points of wide receivers. But that includes starting off the year terribly. So, I don't even know if I get 10 points out of Bateman. So maybe I should throw in Alec Pierce and hope for the best. But yeah, so Allen's receiver group went from a huge plus to struggling to hope to be competitive. Fortunately, he goes up against Seema's group. Jacoby Myers in Las Vegas. All right, I'll give him credit where credit's due. Bumps up and down, but he's had plenty of up weeks. I mean, in the past 4 games, 17, 18, 22, and 8. He's a very good PPR option, a solid guy, but gets Kansas City, so I don't expect them to do much at all. And that's that weird Black Friday game. Jerry Jeudy is his second spot. Yeah, Jerry Jeudy again, one of the 3 wide receivers. Now, Tillman is out, so I'll bump Jeudy up a little bit. But they get Denver, so terrible matchups there too. Hey, look, I love watching Winston play. He'll YOLO it up, and he doesn't care who he plays against, but you're playing against Denver. Denver, they're 28th in what they allow against wide receivers in fantasy, but their defense has just been on fire. I do not expect that to change. So I do not expect much out of Jeudy at all. Devontae Adams, again, the Jets, and you've heard me say many, many times this year, I am not a fan of Rodgers. I think he's toast. Dysfunctional teams don't win. I've said it. And on top of all of that, I assume Rodgers is playing, by the way. I know there's some weird questions about whether he's hurt, and he's refusing medical treatments. It's really odd. But he gets Seattle, and while Seattle is completely middle of the pack at 15th, hasn't been true the past few weeks. Seattle's defense the past few weeks has been very good. So, yeah, mean, none of those receivers look very good. And then his wild card spot, or his flex, he has his fourth receiver, Ladd McConkey. Hey, I called it pre-draft, man. Loved me some Ladd, and he is finally coming on, as most rookie receivers do towards the second half of the year. And they get Atlanta, so he's got the stack going with Herbert. I think that's going to be key in this game, Herbert to McConkey. McConkey has not caught many touchdowns at all. But if he happens to get lucky and get them, he has 4 in the season. But if he happens to get lucky and get 1 or maybe even 2 against Atlanta, that's going to hurt Allen. So that's going to be a close game for Allen to watch. I'll give the edge to Allen mostly because of matchup, and Allen's team has more ceiling potential. But, I mean, both of these groups aren't very good. So moving on to running back, we've got Allen with Mixon and Gibbs, and I will try to speed it up so I can get the second game. We have got Mixon and Gibbs. We'll keep it short. Mixon is possibly the number 1 running back on the season. If not, he is dang close, and he has been on fire. His worst game was last week with 9 points. That's only because he played a very good Tennessee defense. But his last run, 27, 26, 23, 16, 17, 35. I mean, he is rolling, and he gets the terrible Jacksonville defense. If Trevor doesn't play, I mean, that's just not good. It will not surprise me at all if Mixon gets 20 points. And then Gibbs, I don't care that he gets Chicago. They've been okay, on defense. The pass defense has been better, but they're middle of the pack, and it looks like Montgomery's going to play. But I'll tell you what, it won't surprise me at all if Detroit, the best team in the NFL right now, just rolls Chicago and they just bench Montgomery because they don't want to risk his shoulder. They like Campbell said, they've got bigger fish to fry. Like, they're looking to win a Super Bowl. They're not going to risk Monty's health. So I actually think Gibbs could have an above-average week, and he's already probably a top 5 running back on the year. I mean, he's pretty consistently at 15 to 20 points every single week. I mean, literally every single week. He doesn't have a game all year below 12 points. And he is above 20 in like 5 or 6. So, a great, very strong group for Allen. Moving over to Thunder, he does have Bijan, and who doesn't love them some Bijan Robinson? I do. Bijan has been on fire lately. Last week, like Gibbs, a tough week. Played Denver, like I talked about earlier. But prior to that, 5 games prior, 25, 23, 23, 21, 29 points. Now, I will say all of those were against terrible run defenses. The 1st, the 4th, the 6th, and the 8th worst run defenses. They are coming off a bye, but they have a tough test in the Chargers defense. So, that's a close one to watch. Bijan, though, has been catching a lot of passes, so I'll assume he'll hit 15, maybe call him and Gibbs a washout maybe. Then you got Rachaad White. Hey, man, if you've listened to me at all year, I'm so right about this guy. Like, I've got plenty of things I was wrong on, but this was not one of them. Baker being chief among them. I said he was going to be terrible. That didn't pan out. But I said Rachaad is a terrible running back, and he is. He is a terrible running back. He is finally starting to really give over some work to Bucky Irving. Everyone ate against the Giants last week. The only thing that scares me here is he does get Carolina. They are the best run defense to go up against. They are terrible. So there's probably enough for Rachaad to eat again. What is concerning, if you're SEMA, he only had 1 catch. If he only gets 1 catch and you're expecting a rushing touchdown out of Rachaad White, good luck. Like, that was a dumb fluke play. I don't buy that at all. So even though they're playing Carolina, I'm still going to give Mixon the mix. I mean, the edge, because he's got Jacksonville. So Allen taking the edge in running back. Tyler Kraft at tight end versus Evan Ingram. Again, Kraft gets Miami. It's Love, just like I talked about. Hopefully he cancels out some of Love points because Love throws a touchdown to him. Kraft is not great. He's going to get like 4 catches for 30 yards. but he's got a nose for the end zone. The guy is scoring. He's got 7 touchdowns on the year. So I'll take Kraft as a good shot to get a touchdown. Meanwhile, Evan Ingram, while he might be getting a bunch of targets, I don't know if Trevor Lawrence is playing. And if you trust Mac Jones after the past couple weeks, good for you. I don't. So, I can see Evan Ingram outscoring Kraft. It's just going to be who scores a touchdown. So I'll give Ingram the edge only because I think Houston rolls Jacksonville and they're going to have to pass. So I think Ingram kind of PPRs his way past Kraft. That's about it. That's it for the preview. I'm not really worried about the kickers and defenses. This is a close one, man. I'm going to give it to myself, so I'm taking myself here, mostly because I think these running backs look good, and I'm going to hope and kind of bet on one of these receivers because they have a lot of upside, having a good week, and I just don't see any potential of that on SEMA's side. So I've got Thunder losing, which is good news for Fire Crotch. That means Paul has a chance to get past Thunder in the Sacko race and get out of that, which he needs. So we're at 20 minutes. All right, I'll try to speed it up. We've got Chad, the Tank Dogs, versus Paul, Simply Marvelous. Chad has started off the season with a good lucky streak, but man, injuries at the quarterback position has just destroyed his team. He did make a trade for Taysom this week, which is interesting because they came from Paul. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But we've got Winston going up against Denver. I just talked about Denver in the last preview. I don't expect Winston to have a very good game. It could always be wrong about Winston. Now, Stroud, on the other hand, he's showing why you don't put all your stock in rookie year performances. He has not been good. 17, 13, 14, 13 points. Just a definition of average. Since week 7, he's had 2 games. 2 games over 250 yards, and one was 257, and he only has 4 touchdowns since week 7. It's 5 weeks. He's just not been very good. But again, he gets Jacksonville, so I think they roll Jacksonville. I think C.J. Stroud, rolls out with 20 points, but I think the rest is going to mix in because they end up really just kind of running out the ball. So I'll just give him 20. Again, could be wrong. It's Jacksonville. They're terrible. I could also see Nico catching 3 bombs for touchdowns. So, take that with a grain of salt. So definitely have some upside in C.J. Stroud. Moving on over to Paul's side, he has Caleb Williams versus Detroit and Anthony Richardson. As I have previewed with Paul before, balls, just giant balls of steel, taking these two early. He called his shot, which really ruined his season as these two have not panned out. But they are coming on, and Caleb gets Detroit. He's shown his flashes all year and showed them last week against Minnesota. He had 340 yards, had a very good week against a very good defense. But he gets Detroit, one of the toughest defenses in the league. He's going to have to throw it. I don't see Detroit not scoring. So if he can connect, he's got some potential, but I don't know that Caleb gets to 20. And Anthony Richardson, he gets New England. It doesn't matter who he plays. You've heard me talk about him plenty. The guy's not a quarterback. He's an athlete. I actually think he's a piss-poor quarterback. He threw for 172 yards last week. Welcome back to reality after a 270-yard week. He's only thrown over 200 yards 3 times, but once with 204 and once with 212. So 2 weeks ago was his only real week. He had 10 rushes again. He seems to do that every week. So, clock on 50 to 75 yards. Hard to imagine him not hitting 20 points, even though versus Denver he only had 15. He had no touchdowns. So I do imagine that he gets to 20 at least. I actually think he's kind of clocked in for 25 versus New England. So I think he has a good chance to have a decent week. So I'm going to go ahead and take SEMA. I'm going to take his side on the quarterback race, mostly because I just while yes, Stroud could explode, I don't think he hits his ceiling. I think they really run it against Jacksonville. I think they get up early, they run it. So I don't think he blows up this week, and I expect nothing out of Winston. Moving on to the wide receivers, Jackson Smith and Jigba, JSN, over on the Chad side. Tillman, and I don't think Tillman's playing. So I'm not sure if we're going to see Tillman or not on the bench. He's actually got Jameson Williams. I don't know why he wouldn't start Jameson Williams. I mean, I know Chicago's tough. And he's got Drake London. Why is Drake London on your bench, Chad? So I'm going to assume Drake London's in here. All right, so Drake London in for Tillman, and then he's got Tank Dell. Probably Tank Dell over Jameson. So I will assume that is who you are starting. All right, so he's got JSN surging, but he gets the Jets. JSN has been great. If you haven't been paying attention, that's okay, because JSN has had essentially a terrible career up until a few weeks ago. He's 3 weeks ago had 13 targets, 11 targets, then 7. He has had 7, 10, and 6 catches. He has had a 180-yard game, 110 and 77, and he has had 3 touchdowns in 3 weeks. He is being utilized as Lockett is being phased out. But again, the Jets are very good on defense. Even though they're falling apart, I don't see Geno having a great game. I have no desire or no prediction at all that JSN gets 15 points. So now Drake London, on the other hand, Drake London has the Chargers. Yeah, man, I don't care about the Chargers defense. I know they've been great. I mean, in fact, I think they're one of the best. I'm sorry, they're middle of the pack. I really thought they'd be better than that. Real life, I think they're better than that. But I think he gets to 15 points. He's just getting a lot of work. He had a little slip here, but I think coming out of a bye week, they'll be ready to go. So I actually like London this week. I'll give him 15 points. Tank Dell, good. Got Jacksonville. Like I said, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it doesn't go to Nico. Maybe he catches 2 bombs. I think it's a boom-bust play. I'll bet he, at least gets 10, like he has been. But I think he's got a good shot at 15 too. While Stroud might not be much, I think all the volume is going to go to Nico with a couple shots, to Dell. So I think Dell, I'll call 12 points. Go with that. On Seema's side, we've got Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers has been fine. He's been utilized for sure. He's only getting about 6 targets a week, but he's getting the touchdowns. He has 3 touchdowns in the past 4 weeks. Bateman's actually been playing just as well as Flowers. Lamar's really spreading it around, really playing way better than I thought he could. But Philly, again, has been great, so I don't expect much out of Flowers. We have got Amari Cooper. I guess. I mean, honestly, I might start Noah Brown, even though they're playing Tennessee. Noah Brown sitting on his bench. So, I don't know. I guess Amari Cooper's fine. He had 7 points last week. I don't know. I don't expect much here. I'll go with like 7, 8 points. And then Quentin Johnston. I mean, this guy, man. The dude has something like, let's see, 1, 2, 3. He's got something like 30 catches on the year, give or take, and he has 6 touchdowns. I mean, that's obscene. I don't know how he could possibly keep that up, but maybe he does. No, I'm sorry, he has 22. So that means every 3rd catch this guy makes, every 3 catches is a touchdown. That's an impossible rate to keep up. But they get Atlanta. I think that Atlanta will score against them. It should be a good high-throwing game for Herbert. So he's got a chance at a touchdown. I'm not going to bet on it, but he's got a chance at a touchdown. There's at least some upside. So I see very low floor for Paul. And, not a great floor for Chad, but I think Chad's got a better floor and a better ceiling this week. So I'm going to give Chad the advantage there. Moving on to running back, Chad has Ramondre Stevenson and Javonte Williams. Javonte, man, he's been terrible. They're just rotating running backs. He has not proven himself at all. You can look back and see some good games, but he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games, 6 games, 6 games this season with under 10 points and a 7th with 10. So, yeah, he's just, I don't know. Maybe he's good. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's Audric Estime week. I mean, who knows? Jaleel McLaughlin last week was the main running back. So, they get Cleveland. I don't expect much here. Ramondre, while he has certainly had some highs, man, I don't know what they're doing. He got 20 carries last week, only got 73 yards. 2 weeks ago, 20 again. But then last week, it gets down to 8. They're playing Indy. I gotta think Indy scores some points. Like I was saying, I think Richardson can get him going a little bit against okay New England defense. So I think they're passing more. And Drake May doesn't seem to check it down. So, I don't know. I'm not high on Ramondre. I'll give him 10 points or something, but I'm not high on him at all. DeAndre Swift for Paul goes up against Detroit. DeAndre, another kind of schizophrenic running back, some great weeks, and then some real bad weeks. I mean, last week he was 13 carries for 30 yards. 2 weeks ago, 16 for 59. He's fine. But, again, they're going against Detroit. So, I don't know. Maybe you hope he gets some more passing work. I don't know. I don't see a lot happening there. But that would be your hope. And here's the trade I wanted to mention. We had Dowdle traded for Taysom. Well, here we go. Paul gets Dowdle, and he gets him against the Giants. But he gave up, which, by the way, against the Giants, they're terrible, and I would expect Dowdle to get 15 to 20 carries, and I would expect him to get a touchdown. So, good for him there. So I'm going to give the edge in the running back portion over to Paul's side. But when you look at Taysom, man, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you guys about Taysom. Good luck. He could get 0 points or 40. I have no idea after his last showing. So that is a huge wild card, and Paul gave that wild card away to get a matchup for this week going up against him. So that's very interesting. Certainly going to watch how that plays out. The only remaining players, Chad has Jonnu Smith, who seems to be a part of the Dolphins' offense. I mean, he had 11 targets last week and 8 the week before. The Dolphins are dinking and dunking. They're not taking the deep shots. So, again, with that weather, I don't expect much out of Jonnu. And then David Njoku against Denver, also don't expect much. If either of those score a touchdown, they get the edge. I mean, I'll give it to Njoku, but, I think these two watch each other out. And then last but not least is Najee, technically, versus Taysom. Najee's getting the work. He's just ain't doing much with it. And going up against Cincinnati's run defense, I mean, last week 16 to 41. I expect more of the same. So I only think he's good for about 10 points. I'm not high on Najee the rest of the year. So we are at time for sure. I'm over 30 minutes. I was hoping to keep it at 25. So my pick for this week between this game, man, Fire Crotch, you need this one. Ugh. All right, you know what? I'm taking you, Fire Crotch. I'm cheering for you, Paul. Maybe you get Pacheco last minute coming in, give you a little boost. I could see something like that happening. I mean, he was a full participant in practice. I actually like Noah Brown. You might end up throwing him in over Amari Cooper. I don't care what they're, predicted for. He's just getting a lot more work. I don't know. I'm pulling for Paul, so this is a picking with my heart. I think he's got a good shot here. And frankly, I want the satisfaction of making somebody the Sacko after having held it myself. So sorry, Seema. I want to beat you. I want to make you lose. I want you to have those balls dangling all over your face, all right? So that's my happy Thanksgiving. I hope you guys have a good Thanksgiving. Enjoy your time. Peace out.